The key to a really good winged liner for me is most definitely going to start with your brushes. My favorite brushes to use are going to be the Sigma angle brush. See that there? That is an E65, and their eyeliner brush, which is an E5. It has a very fine tip right here. I love this brush. Also, getting a really good gel liner. Smashbox has a really good one. Youngblood has a really good one. Those are really the only pots that I've tried. The one from Smashbox is waterproof, so that's awesome for me on clients. The Youngblood one is perfect for me day to day for myself. You will notice the difference between a really good quality gel liner and another kind of grocery store brand. This really is going to make a difference. The gel liner itself is going to be a lot more creamy, easier to apply. You're not going to get as much flaking. All of that is really going to make a difference when you're trying to put a very fine-tuned line on your face. Also, I'm going to be using the black in here from the Smashbox Full Exposure palette. Show you that. Ooh, sorry. And I'll be using this one right down here. So to start, I'm just going to be getting a little bit of the matte black on my brush, and I'm going to be tight lining my eye here and just using strokes only as large as the brush itself and wiggling a little bit of that product in between my lashes and just making sure that that is really filled in. I'm going to come all the way to the corner here. I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom lash. And here I'm only going about as far as the fullest part of my bottom lashes. So that's probably 2/3 of the way across my eye. I'm going to fill in right here on the corner of my actual eyelid and just make sure that that is really filled in. Hopefully you can see that there. There really is nothing worse than having a disconnect between your bottom lash line and your top lash line if you are filling both. If you're leaving it clear, open underneath, then that's fine. There's nothing for it to connect to. But if you have a liner or a color down here and it doesn't meet up here, then it just leaves a gap. It's kind of like, what's going on? So the next thing I'm going to do now that that is all tight lined, I am going to go in with just a little bit of this and kind of give myself a guide. Really the best way to put on a cat eye or a winged liner is if you have a guide from your eyeshadow. That really does make things easiest. You can watch my last video to see how to make a guide. Today, to make things just a little bit more difficult, I didn't really do a guide. I'm not really wearing heavy eyeshadow. I have a little bit of a warm mid-tone from this palette on in my crease, and that's about it. I really wanted the eyeliner to be bold and be the main focus of my eye look. So you're going to want to decide which angle you want your winged liner to go. For me, I really like a small winged liner. Hopefully you can see that. I have overhanging eyelids, and for me, if I put a liner really too far up and then I relax my eyes, then my skin folds over that and it can actually fold my winged liner, and it's really not attractive. But this is a small wing. It's simple. It's a little bit thicker, so it's still kind of a bold look. But to me, it's almost like a little bit of a kitten heel on a shoe. It's barely there. It's kind of sexy, but it's not reaching out to you and going, hey, look at me, like a big pair of 6-inch red stilettos. For me, that works best. I don't have 20-year-old eyes, so I really can't put on 20-year-old makeup. So the angle that I'm going to choose to use is a slight one here, and I'm going to connect that to my bottom lash line, almost as if it were just to continue straight up from where that lash line is. That's where I'm going to put it. And if I were to draw that up, it would meet at the edge of my eyebrow there, and for me that's perfect. If you want to be a little bit more dramatic, you can draw that out a little bit farther, just angle it down a little bit. Whatever is most comfortable for you. Really, you just need to do a little bit of playing with it and see which angle you like best. Do a little winged liner, do a big one, do something bold. Match it up with what you're doing though. I mean, if you're going to grandma's funeral, maybe that's not the place to be putting like your boldest wing. Maybe you ought to play with like the babyest kitten heel liner. But if you're going out with your girlfriends or you're going to a big event, you know, that might be the time to kind of play with it. Okay, so I have a little bit of this. I'm going to tap it off really well. And I'm going to go in here and angle that and just set my brush. And I don't know if you can see that here. It makes just the slightest line. I'm going to go back in here, tap it off really well, and then now I'm going to come from the top, which is going to be the tip of my winged liner, and connect that with the liner that's at the top of my lashes. I'm doing this really soft, really subtly. This is going to be gone over with the gel liner, so this is just really giving us a base, a guide to go off, and we're not really creating the real hard point with this shadow. That's going to be done with our fine brush. So you're not looking to do that here. So I'm going to go in, find the tip, and just bring it over. Also, I know on the last video, I really pulled at my eyelid to make a straight line with my eyeliner. Don't do that. And definitely don't do that when you're making a winged liner, because what you'll do is you'll pull it out and you think you're putting it one place, and then you're going to let go of your eye and look, and it's going to be like in the middle of your eyelid or off on your temple. Either way, those aren't good looks. So hopefully you can see here. It's really soft, just really subtle. I don't have my point, but again, it's just a guide, something for us to go in and get started. So the next thing I'm going to do is take my liner here and my brush. I'm going to get in there a little bit, and I'm actually going to get some of that product and then close your liner. Do not leave it open. And I'm going to put it on the back of my hand. That's going to give me something to go off of for the next few minutes without having to reopen my pot over and over again. And I'm just going to wipe off the excess right now. I really want very little of this. So I'm going to go in and actually paint the tip of my liner. I'm going to be using only the very tip of my brush and go up here starting from the top and angling my brush down. I'm putting the tip at the top of my liner and pulling it down. This is going to be drawn over the first guideline that I made. As I'm up there, I am placing the tip where I want it, and as I bring it down, I'm almost setting down my brush. This is where it really, and I'm just going to flick that out just the tiniest bit, tiniest bit. This is where a really good brush is going to come in handy. I'm getting a little bit more product on my brush right now from the back of my hand, because the shape of the brush is really going to make or break your eyeliner. So I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to start with the tip again, but I'm not going over that flick. I'm done. I'm happy with where it's at. You barely want to touch it. And I'm just starting with basically the top of the triangle, but without getting into the flick again. And again, setting down my brush, that's connecting that larger area and pulling it inward a little bit. And now I can go over the black that I've already done along my line and fill that in just with the tip of the brush again, because this is going to be a really small line here. I'm going to get a little bit more and just the tiniest bit in the outer corner to fill it in. And remember from my last video, I do like to fill in this corner of where your water lines meet, just to avoid the negative space. And I'm going to look down here and fill in my water line, just because I want this part to be a little bit more dramatic. You don't have to do that. Then when pinup girls were really popular, you'll notice that they really didn't have a lot going on their bottom lashes. They were just doing the big liner a little bit more dramatic on top. So if that's what you're going for, then great. That's super pretty. I'm just filling that in there. And check that real close. And I like it. I see a little tiny area that could use just a little bit of filling, and I'm going slowly and using just the tip of my brush.